So beginning our day, we have two more Longpas here, Longpa Kun and Longpa Damrong, senior disciples of Ajahn Chah, and it's quite wonderful to have them here. Right after this, I'll go over to Sandivihara, see how they're doing, and then maybe take them on a tour in the DV. I'll walk over after this and then see if they would like a tour of the monastery, which I'm sure they will. And the reason we invite these senior monks here is they can remind us of what is meaningful, how to make our lives meaningful. So we just go about our days and then we kind of might get into some sort of little funk or some sort of negative mental train that kind of causes a dark cloud, like one of those cartoons like the dark cloud with the rain over our heads, and walk around with that so they can help us to remind us what brightness and sunshine looks like. And then they can also help give reflections in order to show us how to think in a way that makes our lives much more meaningful and fulfilling. Because if we just think about mundane things too much, we do have to think about certain mundane things, keeping things clean, looking after our kuti, cultivating mindfulness, and so on. But then if we think about too many negative things, negative mundane things happening out in the world or so on, if we think about that too much, then it's going to create that dark cloud over the head, and that's not helpful really for anybody, actually. So to keep the mind bright and positive is all important and is our duty as practitioners. So having these Longpas here can remind us of that. And I found for myself, anytime Longpa Kun starts talking, I'm experiencing piti sukha, just the kind of tenor of his voice, and kind of Isan. He's kind of always trying to cheer people up, and he's kind of playing around a bit. Coming yesterday and talking about Longpa Sumedho eating piles of mangoes as a junior monk in Wat Pah Pong. He's just trying to get everybody into that light-heartedness. That's really where the place of that makes it a lot easier to practice when we're light-hearted and when things are bright, rather than kind of heavy-hearted and grim, and we're just kind of grimly trying to tighten down on the perceived defilements in our mind, and then kind of thinking that that's maybe the right way to practice, but really coming into that lighthearted state. It also reminds me of because it was the same even when Ajahn Chah was alive. You had these Westerners going to Wat Pah Pong, and we have our own conditioning and our own ideas about practice. And this monk, Kitty Saro, who's since disrobed, but when he was a monk with Ajahn Chah, and he got very depressed at one point. And so Ajahn Chah called him to his kuti, and he just started making jokes about squirrels until Kitty Saro was pretty much rolling on the floor laughing. And then he saw that's just what he needed. That's what he needed in that moment. So it's part of the way that happens is when we get out of our own heads and we're able to actually just focus on something a bit less banal and inane than the kind of humdrum chattering that's going on in there. We can focus on these positive and bright things that are happening. So I'll leave that for reflection this morning.